We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. John Harris with the Tennessee Firearms Association is with us talking about guns, gun legislation. New legislative session kicking off right now. And you may have other questions yourself about some of the existing laws. If you have, or just a question about gun ownership, feel free to join us. The lines are open. Bob waited through the break and says he has a question for you. So we will go to Bob now. Bob, good morning.
Oh, hello, sir. It's always a pleasure. Like in the 60s, at age 13, you get a 22 long rifle. What is the, they went up to 18. Are they going to go up to 21 like with everything else, or are they forcing that? Or just wondering about the laws on that.
Okay, would this be just a larger picture? And a good question, because I don't know, how a child can own a gun? Is that what it is?
The child ownership is an issue that comes up a lot.
Okay.
And let me start off by saying we've got different set of rules depending on who the seller is, okay? So if the seller is a federally licensed dealer, and if you're a gun dealer, you have to be federally licensed, they cannot sell a handgun to someone under the age of 21. They cannot sell a long arm to someone under the age of 18. Now, that could change to 21, but 18 and 21 is what federal law says right now. And state law just adopts federal law. It doesn't even rewrite it. It just says, points to the federal statute and says this is the rule in Tennessee. Now, that's entirely different than if it is a sale or a transfer by a private individual. And even federal law says, for example, if a private citizen wants to sell a handgun to someone else, this is important, the minimum age is 18. A dealer, it's 21. A private citizen, it's 18. For a long arm, the sale age is 18. But both state and federal law make exceptions for gifts to minors. And so all of these Christmas pictures that people have seen in the South for the last 70, 80 years of that 12 or 13-year-old standing at the tree smiling with a new 22 rifle, those are gifts. Okay. Those are perfectly legal, and there are no age limits on a gift to a minor.
Okay. And then, of course, hopefully you have a parent who gave him that gift, who is going to work with him and teach him or her how to properly handle it.
That's correct.
That's what it all gets come to. That's where you start learning. All right, let's go next to, I think we got we got Mark first. Mark, good morning. Hi, Mark.
You're talking to Buzz.
Oh, is this Buzz now? Okay, I hit the next one will be Mark. My mistake. You go ahead, Buzz.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that there seems to be a conflict between people who own guns and say that they have a faith in God. And why I say that is because if you feel like, owning guns for hunting and so forth, that's okay. But people who say, I have guns to protect myself and my family, and if they believe in God, they must not trust the 23rd Psalms, which says, Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. That's all the protection I need. I don't have a gun, never have had a gun, and don't plan on ever buying a gun. So I think that more guns available in society creates more opportunity for people to steal those guns and use them for violent means. And that's my comment, and that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Buzz. I appreciate it. And I appreciate his conviction and his faith, keeps him strong. That doesn't work for everyone.
Oh, no, it doesn't. I mean, I have plenty of people that I speak with and talk to who have that concern, okay? And when I have that type of conversation with people, and I'm not saying I give them, faith-based advice, because I'm not a preacher, but I hear their thought processes. And some of them point to the provisions in the Old Testament where, God's law was if someone breaks into your house, you can use deadly force to repel that. And then many people point to Jesus's advice to his disciples to take a sword with them. So, I mean, it's not that there's an easy answer, and I think a large part of it is the nuance, particularly under the Ten Commandments, of whether thou shalt not kill is any killing or if it was really a translated reference to murder.
Right. And so it's interpretation. That's why this debate, and again, Buzz has a right to do exactly what he's doing, okay? To impose that on someone else who wants to be a responsible gun owner because they feel that they need more than just God on their side, then I can see it. But I see both sides of this. It's just, you have to have the freedom to do it. The big thing for me is always responsible gun ownership. That's the biggie for me. As long as it's responsible, I have no qualms with it. But when you're an idiot with a gun, and there's a lot of idiots with guns, I got a problem with it. I just do. All right, let's go next to, now we've got Mark. Mark, good morning. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Dick. How you doing?
Good. What's on your mind, Bal?
I got a question. Is a convicted felony allowed to have guns? Because I know one, and he gets his guns through his girlfriend, and he's a homeowner. Are they allowed to have guns?
Yeah, that's a question that we get a lot, and I'll give you the high points. And the answer is it depends. As a general rule, if they are a convicted violent felon or felony drug offender, at least in Tennessee, the answer is they can't have modern firearms. And I'm going to come back to the modern firearm issue. If they're a convicted nonviolent felon, there are some ways in which a nonviolent felon can have those charges expunged, or by which they can have their rights restored statutorily, and then they become eligible again to possess and own, even get a handgun permit with modern firearms. Now, as a result of the change in the law in Tennessee in May of 2019, any felon can possess antique weapons. And antique weapons have been defined in federal law since 1968, and they refer to anything made prior to 1899 and modern replicas thereof. And the most common version of those weapons are black powder rifles and pistols and shotguns. So if it's muzzle loader using black powder, any felon can possess that under state and federal law.
And I'm going to just take a guess here, but I think Mark's friend, none of those scenarios apply to him. My guess is based on what he was saying, is that this is a felon who is prohibited from owning a weapon, but he has a girlfriend who has a gun that's brought it in that maybe now he possesses or is around, and that would be illegal. The fact that it's her gun, but he has it, you're a felon, I don't care where you get it. You know, if you're a violent felon, you're not allowed to have that weapon unless, except that one exception. I'm guessing he's not holding a musket.
But you know, there used to be a commentator on talk radio in particular by the name of G. Gordon Liddy.
Yeah, sure,
okay?
I remember G. Gordon.
And G. Gordon used to talk all the time about all the guns his wife owned.
Well, and she can legally have them, and maybe that's your loophole around it. But if you're I talk about how I'm all about responsible gun ownership, and this made me think about the irresponsible idiots out there. I did a story the other day about a guy, I think he was in his apartment, a convicted felon with a gun he shouldn't have had. He's messing with it. It goes off twice. One round goes right through his leg. The other round right through the ceiling, barely misses the head of a baby sleeping in an apartment just above him. That's an idiot for you. And yeah, he's messing with a gun he shouldn't have had in the first place, shoots himself in the leg by accident, and quite possibly could have killed that infant in the other room. That's scary stuff, folks. And that's the kind of person who doesn't need to have a gun. And he shouldn't have. He was a felon. Let's go to Keith. Keith, good morning. Hi, Keith.
Hello?
Hey, yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I'm a concealed carry license holder from Illinois. And in Illinois, getting back to the signage debate, we have to have that 4x6 federal government sticker displayed on the entrance doors to the location in order for that to be a non-weapon area. Is that true in Tennessee also?
No. Tennessee's posting statute is Tennessee Code Annotated 39-17, 1359, and it defines a specific features of the posting sign that is required in Tennessee on state and private property. It doesn't apply to federal property. And it requires, if I remember correctly, it's in specific detail, minimum size, minimum height to the letters that are on the sign and the content of the sign, including the graphic image. But it is a much bigger, a more prominent sign than I think any federal sign is.
Okay, so that's the current statute in Tennessee.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for calling. You know, him calling, referring to Illinois, and then we were talking about the red flag laws, made me think about just in the news, Travis Ranking, you know, the accused shooter in the Waffle House case. They recently announced they're not going to seek the death penalty against him, which is a separate issue. But the whole red flag thing came into play there, as we know. Remember, he got in trouble in Illinois, had these weapons, and they determined, okay, he should not have these. They're going to take him away for a period of time. You recall they gave the weapons, though, to his father.
Right.
And the allegation, which now has landed his father in some legal trouble, is that the father, at some point in the game, returned the weapon, the allegation, to his son, in which case he then used that weapon, according to police, to shoot up the Waffle House. And so it's one thing to have a red flag law to take a gun away from someone, but then don't you have to have some provision afterwards on where those weapons go? And maybe they thought the father would keep these weapons for safekeeping for the son, but again, I mean, I'm not comfortable with that. I think it should go someplace secure. I don't know what the laws are on that.
Yeah, the laws aren't very clear on that issue.
I mean, it's got to go to someone, but not someone who's going to give it back to the person.
It is a topic that might be addressed in the extreme risk protection order legislation itself. Where it does potential, and I don't know all the facts of what's happening to the father.
Yeah, I don't either. I just know there's some legal issues looking at that right now, and some civil lawsuits too.
There are, and that's the civil lawsuits is one component because that's a negligence claim.
Okay.
It doesn't turn on anything having to do with statutes. If dad was negligent giving crazy son a gun.
Okay.
Okay, just like letting some parent give a child a car that is, shouldn't have a car.
Right.
Okay. That's the civil side of it. But on the criminal side, and I don't know all the details on dad's situation, if son had been branded a prohibited person as opposed to an extreme risk order, and those are separate things, then transfer by dad to son, if he's a prohibited person, would be at least a federal violation, and it could be a state violation.
Gotcha.
Of the criminal code.
Yeah, well, that's stuff that they're going to continue to look at. But you do think that some red flag laws will continue to be looked at across the country in states, including Tennessee?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're going to continue.
And your feeling on that, if they're properly structured, are you open to those ideas? I know you're an advocate for guns and all of that, and the freedom to own one, but I know you too are a rational person, don't want to have guns in the hands of people that might commit a crime. So you just have to be convinced that something like that is targeting only the people that really shouldn't have them.
Well, myself personally and TFA as an organization, we will not support the extreme risk orders or the red flags. Our position is if the person's a threat, if the person's a risk, deal with them under the mental health code we already have.
Okay, so you say that the laws are on the books now to address that,
yes,
as opposed to needing
if it's a funding
more.
issue, then provide the funding, but let's use the fact that the ultimate issue is that the person individually is the threat or the risk. And taking away a gun doesn't stop them, like the Illinois situation, and getting another one.
Right, you have to deal with the person.
Get the person off the street and get them treated.
Okay, yeah, okay, so it's how you get there maybe then is what the issue will be, whether it's these red flags or the existing ones. But again, who's not in favor of keeping guns out of the hands of Looney Tunes that are going to go shoot something up, right? That's the bottom line, and that's what's important on that. The question, too, of the weapons being carried in cars now with all these carjackings. We talked about this last time with you coming on, and we talked about how cars are broken into and weapons are being stolen. The issue, you said, for a lot of people, and you can own a gun, right, in your home,
right,
or have it just in your car and not have a carry permit, correct? And so
that's correct.
The issue is for people that live downtown, they want to have the gun with them, but how are they going to walk from their apartment legally to their car and back with that gun without a carry permit?
Well, I mean, that's a huge problem.
It is. I think a lot of people do it anyway, and who's going to know if it's concealed, right? Come on, you know as well as I do. A ton of people carry these weapons in places they're not legally able to, and no one knows it. And
prior to May of '94, when we got our first carry permit, probably hundreds of thousands of Tennesseans carried guns for self-defense and did it anyhow.
Right,
okay?
right.
And since May of '94, when we've had the carry permit, we've now got about 640,000 Tennesseans with permits. We have a lot of people who carry in such a fashion, like you said, under the vehicle transport statute, where they don't even have to have a permit.
Right.
I know state legislators who say, I don't even want a permit. This one bothers me. They carry guns, they admit they carry guns, and they say, I'm not getting a permit because I don't want the state to have my name in the database. Because they don't even trust the state that they're a state legislator for. But yeah, the part of the problem is we have a lot of people, and we see this in the data about stolen vehicles, vehicle thefts, vehicle vandalism, and missing guns, who, whether they have a permit or no permit, can legally have the gun in their car, and unfortunately they're leaving it there.
Yeah.
And frequently they're not only leaving that, they're leaving their laptop, their purse, their keys.
Everything. Not just the gun.
Yeah,
everything
they
gets stolen. Just don't do it, man. But of course, there's a big difference, I think, in a laptop being stolen or a weapon. The police would tell you as well, because then they have to face these stolen guns on the street, which is a problem. Facing a stolen laptop on the street, they might whack you upside the head with it.
Or they could do a meme or something.
Or they could do a meme or steal your identity. All right, we'll take a break on that note. When we come back, we've got our final segment with John Harris, and we've got some more phone calls coming in. If you'd like to join us, give us a call. We'll be right back with more right after this.